She started screaming before I even had a chance to climb out of my truck. "You can't park here. This is private property." Her voice sliced through the pine trees, sharp and loud like a warning siren. I looked over at her perfectly pressed polo shirt, clipboard clutched tight, posture stiff like she was standing guard at the entrance to heaven itself. "Ma'am," I said evenly, keeping my tone calm, "this isn't HOA land. This cabin belongs to me now." She blinked rapidly, clearly thrown off for half a second, then jabbed her finger toward the old wooden porch like she'd discovered a crime scene. "That cabin falls within the HOA perimeter. You're trespassing." I didn't respond right away. The scent of old pine mixed with fresh paint hung in the air around me. I'd bought this forgotten cabin at auction just a month ago, a quiet place far from the city where I could start over. All the paperwork was sitting neatly in my glove box, but I wanted to see how far she'd push this before I showed my hand. "Trespassing?" I asked finally. "You sure about that?" Her nostrils flared. "Don't try to be clever. I'm the community head, and nothing happens here without my approval." She stepped closer, snapping photos with her phone like she was assembling evidence. That's when I noticed the small gold badge hanging from her neck, not real, but convincing enough to intimidate someone who didn't know better. "You have 10 minutes to leave before I call the police," she warned. I smiled slowly. "Go ahead." Her eyes widened, clearly not used to being challenged. Then she spun on her heel and stormed off, muttering, "You'll regret this. You'll regret ever coming here." As she disappeared down the dirt road, I leaned back against my truck and exhaled. I knew her type, people addicted to control, rules, and fear. But she'd picked the wrong target this time. Because I wasn't just some random outsider encroaching on her turf. I had a reason for being here, and something told me this wouldn't be her last visit. The next morning, I woke to the sound of engines and raised voices outside. Coffee mug in hand, I stepped onto the porch and froze. Karen was back. This time, she'd brought 2 men in security uniforms that immediately felt wrong. No badges, no name tags, just black shirts and radios clipped to their belts. "There he is," she yelled, pointing at me like I was a wanted criminal. "That's the trespasser. Arrest him." The taller man stepped forward. "Sir, this area is restricted. You need to vacate immediately." I tilted my head. "Restricted? This cabin sits on County Road 47, well outside the HOA boundary. You sure you're in the right spot?" Karen crossed her arms. "Don't act smart. The HOA extends up to the ridge, which includes this land." I set my mug down carefully. "You might want to double-check your map before issuing orders." One of the fake officers moved toward my truck. "We'll impound this vehicle if you don't comply." I nearly laughed. "You got a warrant for that?" Silence. The shorter guy looked uneasy, glancing at Karen like he needed permission to breathe. "Do it," she snapped. "Show him we mean business." That was enough. I opened my truck door, pulled out a folder, and flipped it open. "Here's the county deed," I said, holding it up. "Signed, sealed, and recorded 3 weeks ago. See that line? That's your HOA border half a mile south of here." Karen's smug expression cracked. That can't be right." The taller fake cop leaned in to read the document, then stepped back and whispered something to her. Her fists clenched, face burning red. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You can't just buy land here and think you're above the rules." I met her glare. "I'm not above the rules. I just actually know them." As they drove off, I noticed one of their cars didn't even have a license plate. That's when it hit me. Those weren't real cops. And if Karen was desperate enough to hire imposters, something bigger was brewing. That night, the woods felt unnaturally quiet. Even the crickets had gone silent. I was inside checking the locks by the fireplace when headlights flashed across the window. Someone was back. I stepped outside slowly, flashlight low. Karen's SUV sat at the edge of my driveway, engine still running. She was pacing while talking on her phone, voice sharp and urgent. I stayed hidden behind a tree and listened. "Yes, I want him gone tonight," she hissed. "He's squatting on HOA property. Do whatever you need, just make it look legal." A chill ran down my spine. She was trying to set me up. I stepped closer. Dry leaves cracked under my boots. She spun around, flashlight snapping onto me. "What are you doing sneaking around?" she snapped. I stepped into the beam. "I could ask you the same thing. You're trespassing now," she scoffed. "Don't play games," she added. "I called the county this morning. They said no one bought this land." "That's strange," I said, pulling out my phone and opening an email. "Because this says otherwise." I showed her the official county confirmation, my name, the transfer date, everything. Her face shifted panic, then fear, then pure rage. "You forged that. I'll prove it," she screamed. Before I could reply, another car pulled up. A black sedan with tinted windows. A man in a suit stepped out, calm and composed, far too official for midnight chaos. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "step away from his property." Karen froze. "Who are you?" He flashed his badge. "County Attorney's Office. We've received multiple complaints about HOA overreach in this area." I stayed silent. She looked between us, speechless for once. You called them?" she whispered. I gave a faint smile. "Didn't need to. The county's been monitoring this neighborhood for a while." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. As the attorney approached her, I knew this wasn't the end. Karen wasn't the type to back down. She was the type who hit harder when cornered. 2 days later, the storm arrived. Both kinds. Rain hammered the cabin roof as I sealed the windows, trying to keep the water out. Then I heard engines again, multiple this time. I looked outside and saw 3 pickup trucks parked near my gate. Karen stood in the mud with a group of men in work vests. She shouted through the rain, "We're removing this illegal structure. It violates HOA boundary codes." I stepped out, water soaking my boots instantly. "You're out of your mind, Karen. This isn't your jurisdiction," she smirked, waving a document. "Oh, but it is. We filed a motion with the county to reclaim this land. Claimed it was abandoned property taken fraudulently." "Your auction?" Invalid. Her crew began unloading chains and tools, heading for my fence. My pulse raced. "You touch that gate, and you're committing a crime," I warned. One man hesitated, but Karen barked, "Do it. I'll handle the legal side." I raised my phone and started recording. "Perfect. Keep going. I'll need this footage." Her smirk finally faltered. "You think a video is going to save you?" she sneered. Before I could answer, sharp sirens sliced through the thunder. 2 real sheriff's cruisers came barreling in, red and blue lights flashing through the sheets of rain. Karen's crew froze mid-motion. She spun around, all confidence drained from her face. One of the deputies stepped out slowly. "Ma'am, we've received multiple reports of unauthorized demolition at this location. Care to explain what's going on here?" Karen straightened, forcing her voice steady. "This man is trespassing. That cabin belongs to the HOA." The deputy lifted an eyebrow. "That's strange. County records show this property is owned by..." He glanced down at his tablet. "Mr. Daniel Hayes. That you, sir?" I nodded and handed over my ID. He checked it, then nodded back. "In that case, I suggest everyone else step off his land." Immediately, Karen's voice cracked. "You can't. This is wrong. There's been a mistake." The deputy took the paper from her hand, scanned it, then let out a short laugh. "This isn't a court order, ma'am. It's a photocopy of your HOA rulebook." Her face drained of color. As her workers backed away, I caught her staring at me through the rain, trembling with rage. She whispered something under her breath, barely audible. "You'll regret this." And for the first time, I understood this wasn't just about power. This was personal. That night, the storm had passed, but the air still felt heavy. Sleep wouldn't come. Her words kept replaying in my head. "You'll regret this." I dealt with people like her before, but this time felt different. She wasn't just obsessed with control. She was hiding something. Just after midnight, I noticed a faint light flickering near the back fence. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside quietly. As I got closer, I saw someone digging near the tree line, and then I recognized her. It was Karen. "Working late, are we?" I said, my voice cutting through the darkness. She gasped and spun around. Dirt smeared across her hands, eyes wide and frantic. "You shouldn't be here," she snapped. I stepped closer, shining my light on the ground she'd been digging. Half buried in the mud was an old metal box. "What's that?" I asked, None of your business, she hissed, trying to block it with her boot. But it was too late. The lid had shifted just enough for me to see inside. Papers. Old property records. Some had her name scratched out and rewritten. Others were stamped void. I looked up slowly. You forged deeds, didn't you? She froze, eyes darting like a cornered animal. You don't understand, she stammered. That land was supposed to be mine. My husband built that cabin before he died. The HOA took it from me. For a brief second, her voice cracked. Then her expression hardened again. If I can't have it, she said coldly, no one will. She lunged for the box, but I grabbed it first. This is over, Karen. Whatever you've done here, the county's going to find out. Her face twisted. You think they'll believe you over me? I've run this community for 12 years. I met her stare calmly. Then 12 years is long enough. I turned and walked back toward the cabin, the box tucked under my arm. Behind me, she screamed into the darkness, you'll destroy everything. I didn't turn around. I already knew the truth. The moment that box came into the light, everything she'd built on lies was about to collapse. The next morning, I drove straight to the county office, the rusted metal box sitting on my passenger seat. The sun was barely up, but I wanted this finished before Karen could spin another lie. When I stepped inside, the clerk looked up. Back again, Mr. Hayes? Yeah, I said, setting the muddy box on the counter. You're going to want to see this. We opened it together. Inside were dozens of altered deeds, stamped signatures, and fake HOA claims, some dating back over 10 years. A few even carried county seals that didn't match any official record. Her eyes widened. These are forged. Whoever did this has been stealing land. Before I could respond, a familiar voice spoke behind me. We've been waiting for evidence like this. I turned to see the county attorney from before. He nodded toward the documents. Karen's been under investigation for property fraud. You just gave us exactly what we needed. For a moment, it felt like relief until my phone buzzed. Unknown number, I answered, and her voice hissed through the line. You think you've won? Go check your cabin. My stomach dropped. I ran for my truck and tore down the mountain road. The closer I got, the thicker the smoke became. When I rounded the bend, my heart sank. My cabin was engulfed in flames. Fire ripped through the roof as black smoke curled into the sky. No, I shouted, rushing forward, but the heat forced me back. Sheriff's sirens wailed as cruisers arrived moments later. The same deputy grabbed my shoulder. She did this? He asked. She called me, I said through clenched teeth. She wanted me to watch it burn. His jaw tightened. We'll find her. As firefighters battled the blaze, I stood in the rain-soaked mud, watching everything I'd rebuilt turn to ash. But even through the smoke, I made myself a promise. If she wanted a war, she'd just started one. By sunrise, the fire was out. The cabin was nothing but blackened beams and smoldering ruins. I stood there holding the only thing that survived, the metal box of evidence. The sheriff walked over, boots crunching on wet gravel. We found tire tracks heading toward Highway 6. She didn't get far. We're tracking her now. I nodded, silent. Inside, I wasn't just angry anymore. I was finished being a victim. A few hours later, I met the county attorney again at the courthouse. We've issued a warrant, he said. Arson, forgery, and fraud. But we also found something else. He opened a file with my property name on it. Inside were letters all written by Karen. Complaints, false ownership claims, even threats. One sentence was underlined. If the county sells that cabin, I'll take it back by any means necessary. I looked up slowly. She planned this for years, he nodded. And she almost got away with it. You stopped her just in time. That evening, as I drove back toward what remained of the cabin, flashing lights appeared ahead. 2 sheriff's cruisers sat on the roadside. Karen stood between them in handcuffs, her once perfect hair tangled and wild. She looked up at me as I pulled over. You think you won? She spat, voice shaking. That land will haunt you. It's cursed with everything they took from me. I stepped closer, rain dripping from my jacket. No, Karen, it's cursed with everything you did to people like me. She glared at me, hatred burning in her eyes. You ruined my life. I held her stare. You burned your own. The deputies guided her into the cruiser and closed the door. As the car drove away, the air around the cabin felt quiet, for the first time heavy, but peaceful. I turned toward the ashes of my home. It hurt to see it gone, but I knew this wasn't the end. I still had her box of forged deeds, and inside it, more names, more victims. Karen wasn't alone, and if I was going to rebuild, I wasn't just rebuilding a cabin, I was rebuilding justice.